10 shocking archaeological discoveries from World War II that stunned scientists. Our world, despite being modern and developed, still holds deep secrets from the past. And for over 70 years, stories from World War II have continued to haunt us. But did you know that recent archaeological excavations have uncovered surprising discoveries, raising many unanswered questions? From hidden treasures and skeletal remains with painful histories to previously undisclosed clues, these findings not only change how we understand history, but also unveil mysterious, hidden corners. Scientists and archaeologists are reopening chapters of history thought to be closed, and each new discovery brings a shocking revelation. What can you imagine these secrets to be? Hidden treasures of gold and silver? Or shocking historical evidence that we are only now able to see? Let's explore 10 of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries from World War II, which even scientists could not have anticipated, in today's video. The mummified singer in the stunningly beautiful coffin. A long time ago, a woman living in Thebes, Egypt, was mummified and placed inside an extraordinarily beautiful coffin. For 2,700 years, her remains lay undisturbed, until the coffin was damaged in Brazil. The woman inside it was a significant figure in Egyptian society. Exquisite and honorable artifacts were placed in her coffin to accompany her journey to the afterlife. Therefore, the destruction of her coffin is a tragic loss, as it was one of the rarest ancient coffins ever discovered. The 2,700-year-old mummy in question was named Shah-Amun-Ensu. During her life, she was both a temple singer and a priestess in ancient Egypt during the 22nd dynasty. Under the reign of Pharaoh Sheshonq. Very little is known about Shah-Amun-Ensu, except for the hieroglyphs inscribed on her coffin. Fortunately, scientists were able to study and analyze the coffin before it was damaged. According to the inscriptions, Shah-Amun-Ensu held the title of Heset, which means singer. One line of hieroglyphs reveals that she was the daughter of a singer who served in the temple of Amun. Based on historical understanding, members of the Heset were women who served both as singers and priestesses at Amun's temple. They were responsible for performing sacred rituals and hymns in honor of the gods and goddesses. During ceremonies and festivals, Shah-Amun-Ensu took part in rituals and sang hymns praising Amun. It's unclear when, where, and by whom her coffin was excavated. It is only known that it was found somewhere near Thebes, though the exact location remains unknown. There is no record of her family, but one hieroglyphic inscription reveals that she had an adopted daughter. What we do know is that Emperor Dom Pedro II of Brazil visited Egypt in 1875 and was gifted this magnificent coffin containing the intact mummy of Shah-Amun-Ensu by Egyptian Khedive Ismail Pasha. A lover of history and ancient Egyptian culture, Dom Pedro II brought the coffin back to Brazil and displayed it in the São Cristóvão Palace, where it remained on display until 1889. After leaving her homeland for Brazil, the coffin of the mysterious temple singer suffered its first accident during a storm. Winds knocked the coffin off its display stand, causing it to fall and crash into the window of Emperor Dom Pedro II's office. Though the coffin was repaired, it was never restored to its original condition. Later, it was moved from the Imperial Palace to the National Museum of Rio de Janeiro, where it remained on display and under study for many years. Because the coffin of Shah-Amun-Ensu was never opened, scientists could only study the mummy inside using X-ray technology. Based on their analysis, the ancient singer is believed to have died at around 50 years old, though the exact cause of death remains unknown. However, her body appeared well preserved, with no signs of trauma or injury, suggesting that Shah-Amun-Ensu died of natural causes. Remarkably, her teeth were intact. Her throat was carefully wrapped in a resin-coated layer, likely intended to protect her voice, ensuring she could continue singing sacred hymns in the afterlife. Among her burial treasures was a stunning heart-shaped scarab, carved from green stone and inscribed with her name. Sadly, on September 2, 2018, a devastating fire engulfed the National Museum of Rio de Janeiro. The coffin, the mysterious ancient singer's mummy, and all of her golden artifacts were lost to the flames. For historians, archaeologists, and anyone passionate about ancient Egyptian history, it was a heartbreaking and irretrievable loss. Everything connected to Shah-Amun-Ensu has been lost forever. Her life may remain an ancient mystery, one that we may never be able to fully unravel. Wreckage of American aircraft from World War II in Hong Kong. Specifically, the research team, led by archaeologist Michael B.C. Rivera from the University of Hong Kong, along with 250 volunteers, discovered over 600 wreckage pieces, including propeller parts and landing gear measuring up to 2 meters, from an aircraft believed to have crashed during the final months of World War II. Notably, some of the wreckage had serial numbers, which could be the key to confirming that the aircraft was a TBM-1C Avenger, a U.S. military fighter plane. Although the aircraft crashed on January 16, 1945, during a brutal American airstrike on Japanese bases in Hong Kong, it wasn't until 2011 that Tai Tam Park was identified as the crash site. Amateur historian Craig Mitchell was the first to discover traces of the crash after years of investigation. However, it wasn't until last year that the research team was able to begin excavation after the COVID-19 pandemic delayed many plans. During the search, archaeologists and experts from the University of Hong Kong, the University of Science and Technology, Baptist University, and the Chinese University of Hong Kong employed advanced technologies such as photography, video recording, and 3D modeling to analyze the wreckage. American experts William Belcher and Andrew Pietruska, with extensive experience in Avenger aircraft excavations, hypothesized that the wreckage likely belonged to a TBM-1C Avenger, one of the primary fighter planes during World War II. The results of the search will be published in a scientific paper next year. This discovery is not only an important archaeological find, but also an opportunity to attract the community's, especially the younger generation's, interest in history, science, and in archaeology. Vampires in Venice. In 2006, the field of archaeology once again stirred the online community when researchers announced the discovery of a mass grave just outside the city of Venice, Italy. What particularly stunned the researchers was that one of the bodies in this grave had a large brick stuffed in its mouth. This was not an isolated event, but rather, according to experts, an ancient local custom intended to prevent evil spirits, especially vampires, from rising from the dead and continuing to harm the living. It is known that vampire legends have existed in many cultures across the world, and the people of Venice were no exception. In their belief system, if someone died from illness or any other cause that made them likely to become a vampire, they would be punished by having a brick placed in their mouth to prevent them from rising again and sucking blood. The brick was not just a means of stopping the undead. It was also considered a protective measure to safeguard the community from misfortune and to ensure that the deceased soul could not linger in the mortal world. Archaeologists believe this is the clearest evidence showing that the vampire legend had reached Venice long ago. While vampire stories have appeared in history books and in various cultures, the discovery of such a specific method of dealing with the dead provides a vivid testament to the deep belief ancient people had in the existence of these mythical creatures. This discovery raises many fascinating questions about how beliefs and legends influenced human life in the past. It also highlights the profound fear people had of death and restless spirits, serving as a reminder of how mystical stories can reflect the anxieties of an entire culture in the past. Two 1,500-year-old skeletons reveal a shocking truth about China's legendary female general. You know, in our world, there are always stories, legends that at first seem like they're told just for entertainment or inspiration. But when people take the time to study, analyze, and reflect on them more deeply, they sometimes discover that behind those stories lies a truth that has been buried for thousands of years. And the story of ancient female warriors is one of those cases. To better understand this, let's travel to the vast grasslands of northern Mongolia, where the wind blows year-round and traces of history lie quietly beneath the cold earth. It was here that archaeologists discovered two skeletons in a tomb dating back about 1,500 years. Later analysis revealed that these remains belonged to women, and not ordinary women. Why do I say they were not ordinary? You might be wondering that too. The answer lies in the bones themselves. Analysis showed that these women had spent a great deal of time riding horses, so much so that their bone structures had adapted over time. Not only that, but marks on their arms and shoulders indicate that they were highly skilled in archery, a weapon that is far from easy to master, especially in warfare. In simple terms, these were women who lived the lives of true warriors. Just imagine it. Over 1,500 years ago, in a time when wars were constant and society was unstable, there were women who went directly into battle, faced danger, and endured injuries just like men. Does that surprise you? These two skeletons were found at the Arajan Gozgor archaeological site in Orkhon Province, Mongolia. Over the course of 4 years, researchers from California State University analyzed nearly 30 skeletons at this site. They identified traces of several different groups who lived there across different periods. The Xiongnu around 2,200 years ago, the Xianbei about 1,850 years ago, and later the Turkic people around 1,470 years ago. But what's remarkable is this: only the female skeletons from the Xianbei group, who lived during the Northern Wei dynasty, show clear evidence of horseback riding and archery. This led archaeologists to believe that these women were not just supporting figures, but actual warriors who took part in battles. And this is where the story becomes truly fascinating. Because the Northern Wei period, lasting from AD 386 to 534, is also the historical backdrop of the legend of Hua Mulan. According to the well-known tale, during a time of war, every family was required to send a man to fight. But out of love for her aging father, Mulan disguised herself as a man, took his place in the army, fought for many years, and achieved great victories. For a long time, many people have viewed this as purely symbolic, a legend without clear historical evidence. But now, with the discovery of these two female warriors, that perspective may be starting to shift. While we cannot say that these women were Hua Mulan herself, they do prove something very important. During that time, women were fully capable of becoming warriors, riding horses, using bows, going into battle, and surviving the harsh realities of war. In fact, one of the archaeologists directly involved in the research, Christine Lee, made a thought-provoking statement: "What men can do, women can do as well." And when you look at the physical evidence preserved in these bones, that statement feels less like an opinion and more like a historical reality. So instead of asking, was Hua Mulan real? Perhaps the better question is, how many women like Mulan once lived, fought, and sacrificed, yet were never recorded in history? These two skeletons lay silently for 1,500 years. Now, they are not just archaeological remains, but voices from the past, reminding us that history is not always fully told. And the legends we once believed were fictional may, in fact, be rooted in very real people with stories that have never been completely revealed. 300 mummies at the Ear of Hell. Located in southeastern Xinjiang, Lop Nur was once China's second-largest saltwater lake. However, it has completely dried up over the past 1,500 years, merging into the Gobi Desert. Satellite images reveal that Lop Nur has a shape resembling a human ear, and its shores can even change shape, which is why it has been dubbed the Ear of Hell. Since ancient times, people have hoped to find treasures, legendary riches of the Lulan Kingdom, at Lop Nur. It wouldn't be surprising to discover human skeletons there, as the area has become a black hole for those who enter. They never return. In 2005, a group of explorers decided to investigate and accidentally uncovered 300 mysterious mummies. After DNA testing, archaeologists determined that these mummies date back to the 15th century BCE, during the Xia dynasty. Experts believe the large number of remains found at Lop Nur may be linked to a mass slaughter of slaves by the ancient Xia Empire. It is likely that ancient people conducted some ritual activities, leading to the accumulation of numerous corpses in this area. This is also supported by the Shanhai Jing, which records that due to complex governance, the Xia dynasty continually expanded its territory and frequently engaged in warfare. Thus, these mummies are likely the remains of those who died in these conflicts. The mummies at Lop Nur serve as evidence of the existence of the Xia dynasty. Lop Nur welcomes any visitors with its eerie desolation, featuring summer temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius and winter lows below 20 degrees Celsius. Annual rainfall is a meager 20 mm, and strong winds are a constant presence. For over 2 months each year, winds can reach force 8, blowing sand and stones in every direction, making it difficult to see the sky, let alone other people. Even camels, known as the ships of the desert, struggle to survive here. In 1980, scientist Peng Jiamu and his expedition team visited Lop Nur for research and have been missing ever since. The headless skeleton of a circus performer. Evidence of human sacrifice can be found all over the world, but a sacrificial site discovered in 2008 in Syria appears to be quite unique. In an abandoned and dusty area, archaeologists uncovered a strange and mysterious sight: human and animal skeletons arranged deliberately. What stood out was that 3 human skeletons lay side by side, but without heads. This was a groundbreaking discovery, as it raised questions about the practice of human sacrifice and ancient rituals. Based on signs of trauma on the bones and excessive development around the ligaments and bones, researchers hypothesized that one of these 3 skeletons could belong to a circus performer. What made this discovery even more intriguing was that the house where the skeletons were found was abandoned, filled with dust, and showed no signs of life. All that remained were the headless bodies, creating a chilling and enigmatic scene. Archaeologists suspect that these skeletons might be the result of a sacrificial ritual, where animals and entertainers were sacrificed for religious purposes or to pray for good luck, good harvests, or protection from gods. Another theory proposed is that these skeletons could be victims of a natural disaster or a sudden attack that left the entire house in chaos. Whatever the true cause may be, this discovery remains an important clue, opening many questions about ancient rituals, customs, and beliefs that were formed thousands of years ago. The practice of human sacrifice, while recorded in many different cultures, makes us reflect on the complexity and darkness of the past, doesn't it? The footprints of gods in the Namib Desert. The Namib Desert is the largest desert in Namibia, a country in Africa. In this desert, there are strange circles evenly distributed across the dry grasslands. Then, in 2014, it was discovered that similar circles were found near the mining town of Newman in Western Australia. However, the mysterious circles in Namibia remain the most famous and intriguing to scientists who have been studying them since the 1970s. Researchers have attempted to explain why these barren circles have existed for decades. Despite scientific advancements since the 1970s, scientists still struggle to understand this mysterious natural phenomenon. Additionally, locals believe in various legends about dancing fairies, creating the circles to prevent plant growth, or UFOs landing in the desert at night, among many other plausible explanations for why these strange circles exist. Some scientists believe that the circles are related to termites, which build their nests under these circles and interact with the surrounding vegetation. The hypothesis suggests that large termite colonies invade each other, and when colonies of similar sizes meet, they cannot destroy one another. Therefore, they create buffer zones without termites between them. Another reasonable hypothesis suggests that the circles are the result of plant competition for the scarce water that falls annually in the Namib Desert. Plants provide shade, maintain water, but hinder the growth of other plants. As a result, these plants grow long roots that form a circle, drawing water from a central source underground. Some people also believe that these circles are somehow connected to the toxic euphorbia bushes growing in Namib. Some remnants of these plants have been found in the circles. But the truth is, no one knows whether any of these hypotheses are correct or whether the answer is a combination of them.